Welcome back to the only place where bad decisions turn into functioning vehicles. We're pretty new here, so if this is your first delinquent experience, I'm Allie, that's my husband Josh, and this mechanical identity crisis is Ralph. Ralph is our very sensible plan to build a rollback wrecker, using a neglected 70-year-old dump truck, an international box truck chassis, and an aggressive amount of forklift parts. Because buying one already built would have been way too easy and far less entertaining. After months of fighting rusty bolts, bad ideas, and physics itself, we're finally ready to begin the cab swap. In part 1, we're getting the 55 Ford cab cleaned up, repaired, and ready for its new life, while the International gets stripped down and the DTI gets prepped for surgery. Basically, we're just going to take 2 old trucks and put them together and hope they become a good one. Then in part 2, the Ford National finally becomes a running and driving vehicle, right before we immediately run into a minor catastrophe. Because apparently gravity is a real thing. So stick around because the chaos starts now. This is Delinquent Speed Shop, where standards are low and expectations are unreasonably high. We're a mom-and-pop restoration shop in the mighty metropolis of Coffee City, Texas, where we do everything from budget builds to high-end classics. Our lifestyle and our motto is simple. If it works, is it stupid? There's only one way to find out. In the last episode, we popped the top on Ralph, and now we really get to see the fun we're gonna have. Inside the cab, we discovered a thriving ecosystem. Squirrels, empty beer cans, and what I can only assume is 30-year-old brake fluid. I'm sure it's still good. Anyways, after a good once-over with the shop vac, I'm on to my next adventure that in hindsight, I should have let Josh do. Taking off doors, not a big deal, right? But if you've never removed doors from a second-gen F-Series, you might not understand that the creators of the hinge that fits inside of the cab frame were evil and sadistic. These hinges might not look very intimidating, but I greatly underestimated the amount of energy and cuss words it was going to take them off. But eventually, I got them. Now we need to remove what's left of the windshield.
What my thought here is I'd like to probably just hammer. Meh.
Probably just speed this part up so they're like,
Probably, yeah.
I was very proud of that.
I liked it, yeah.
I did good.
I thought so too.
Woo!
Yeah, windshield wiper, get out of the way.
That was good.
There it is. Luckily, this piece is actually still good.
Yeah.
So, that's not a huge deal, honestly. I thought it was going to be way worse than that.
I am sorry, did he just say he thought this would be worse and that this wasn't a big deal? Oh, okay, no, that's totally right. This is fine.
That's a problem for future Homer.
Agreed, and moving on.
We are cutting this wiring out because it's poo. And you shouldn't run your vehicle on poo wire.
And far too complicated.
That'll be an interesting view of my face struggling.
The instructions were, rip all that shit out and throw it in the trash. So I'm ripping all this shit out and then I'm gonna throw it in the trash. If you're mad at anybody, be mad at Josh. So wasteful. Like, you can reuse this. This is perfectly fine. What a great view. I don't know if I wanted to cut that or not. Shit. I cut off the button thing. We wouldn't reuse this anyways. Crispy though, but we're gonna keep this because it's cool. Button. Oh boy, I got more bullshit. Y'all wanna see? You wanna see what I'm doing instead of just like watching my forehead? I told you I was gonna be a face struggling moment. Now this is what we're talking about. This definitely has more rat nest, squirrel nest, something that was living in her nest. Oh, how gross is this gonna be? Listen, I know the angle is majestic, but hold on. We've got to struggle over here for a minute. Now let's struggle.
Ah yes, some lighthearted fun. And now back to the shit I do voluntarily, usually for very little money. Because I care about our pretend internet friendship, and because I really don't want to relive it again, I'm gonna cut out literal weeks of footage, because this part was probably, as you already assume, very much the same thing over and over. I cut out bad metal, and then I made templates, and then I made patches, and then I hot glued them to any good metal I can find, which wasn't much, and then I repeated that process over and over and over until Ralph resembled more of a cheddar instead of a Swiss. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. I'll tell you why. For this entire build, and even our daily drivers, which are all stupidly project cars as well, our goal is to drive. So if a project takes years to finish, our lack of attention spans would have allowed us to buy at least 200 more project cars in the meantime. So in order to actually get them on the road, we concentrate on functionality over perfection. And it is what it is. Sometimes in order to function, things have to be perfect. But we also understand that the more perfect, pretty, shiny something is, the more you're going to worry about it. So while we love the pretty ones too, we encourage the shitbox way of life. Sometimes you gotta get it running before you get it right. And speaking of shitboxes, this one is ready to move on to the next step. You might have noticed by now, we utilize our forklift, whose name is Bill, way more than I ever thought this shop would, and today is no different. Bill took Ralph into his loving arms so I could wash out all the nooks and crannies from his undercarriage. Then he got a refreshing spray of Dollar General brand flexible sealer for an undercoating, which was surprisingly not horrible. Only the best for you, Ralph.
Are you ready, kids?
Yeah,
Aye, aye, Captain.
ready as I'm ever gonna be.
So if you were paying close attention to that last segment with Ralph, you might have spotted the International's cab hanging out on the back of the frame. That's because our projects usually don't have a chronological order like the videos do. I mean, it would probably make lives much easier if we did, but most of the time me and Josh are actually working in two different areas, working on completely different things to make as much progress in the time that we do have it when we have it, while also working on client cars. And I say that to say this. We understand how overwhelming it is when you're trying to fit your project car on your priorities list, especially if you're working on it by yourself. So ask for help when you need it. Get inspired so you don't get burnt out. Outsource the jobs you absolutely hate doing, and most importantly, give yourself some grace because this shit is not for the weak. And if you're looking for professionals who work on project cars for a living, we are your shop.
Dang it, Bobby. There she is. I want you to know that my entire life savings sits right here.
You mean R?
Whatever.
We're in this shit show together.
It's good shit.
All right, now what?
Yeah, we gotta do the thing. More or less, we gotta clean all this, paint all this, put that guy on there. Cool.
Okay.
Cool Kids Club. Is that 1,000 times fucking worse?
You know what's funny? We're literally called Delinquent Speed Shop, but everybody around us is the ones that act like
Bunch of assholes
with their cars.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're just over here like polishing our shit box. Please don't break.
It's kind of the thing.
And there she is, 466 cubic inches of pure, straight 6 intercooled power. So you can probably already tell our motor had been painted a couple times, but you can still kind of see the blue-green that was originally there. To be honest, we'd already decided to go with the blue-green color of the original, and had already picked out the duplicolor Pontiac blue since that is actually the same color I painted Josh's Torino block many years ago. But it was so close to the original paint still on the motor, I wanted to see what that paint color was. Finding that that information, though, led me down a rabbit hole that had me even more confused than when I started. Okay, so basically in 1984, International Harvester sold its agricultural division, and then in 1985, they began rebranding their truck line to Navistar. And although there's a lot of paint information floating around, a lot of it is conflicting or just wasn't used for the S series, which is what ours is. So in case you're in that rabbit hole, I've dug up some hopefully helpful information. Google wants to try to tell me that Detroit Diesel's Alpine Green is the closest match, but I honestly think that International's Concord Blue is closer to it. Also, Concord Blue is the same color as their Vegas Blue, just without the metallic. Next time on Delinquent Speed Shop. In part 2, Josh goes over what modifications had to be done in order to make the pedals go through the floor before we put Ralph's cab on. And we finish the cab swap, which turns out was the easy part. I mean, this fiasco wasn't really fun, but we haven't even gotten to the rollback portion of this shit show. So make sure you subscribe and give us a like if you don't want bad luck for the next 7 years. See you next time.